very much for joining us here today. It is a beautiful Monday. Hope everybody had an amazing weekend. And make sure that you keep sending those last minute text messages for the next minute or so. But make sure that your team knows that we are live. Matter of fact, I'm going to put a last minute text right now. Message in the group. We're all right. How was everybody's weekend, by the way? Let me know. Did you guys have a good weekend? Were you guys working? What was the deal? Were you guys relaxing? What do you guys got going on?
We got 2 new builders in the house.
Nice. Oh, I saw that, Calvin. Congrats, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I love that. I love that. All righty.
Oh, that's it. Oh,
Welcome, welcome,
Okay.
ladies and gentlemen, to
okay, no
the
problem.
Monday training. Okay, let's go ahead and put everybody on mute now. Let me mute all. All righty. Okay, here we go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the training. We're going to go to the solar crash course here today. I'm going to go for about 45 minutes. So by about 10:50 Pacific time, we're going to be done. I will complete, however, this training next week. So there's no way I could go through this entire training in one session, but I will go ahead and complete it next week. Even those of you guys that have already closed a couple of deals, even those of you mentors, some of you guys are mentors and you're not closing batteries yet. And, or, because maybe your market doesn't necessarily require it the way California does. Well, ladies and gentlemen, keep this in mind that learning how to sell with a battery, it is a complete system. I live in California. We experienced fires here lately, right? Some horrific stuff. Unfortunately, so a lot of people we know. But there was even something that was even more interesting, and that was, not more interesting, but interesting nonetheless. There were people in areas that were not affected by the fires, but their electricity was gone anyways, right? And so situations like that are very tough, right? Obviously, with the fires and whatnot, that's the toughest situation. But even those people, there was, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of people that were without electricity because they were near that fire area, right? So my point with that is that having a solar system with a backup battery is a complete solar system. In my opinion, a solar system, see here, I got to get that fixed. I'm going to have to, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to switch my charger. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. I had the wrong charger connected. Last thing I need is for my computer to turn on. So anyways, a solar system without a battery is not a complete solar system. Let's make sure that we at least give clients that option, because don't get me wrong, a solar system without a battery is much better than no solar system at all. But I think that every single client should be given the option to get a complete solar system. So anyways, let's get started. All right, so today we're going to go through the solar crash course, okay? And let's jump right into the information. So a couple of misconceptions, and some of you guys may have seen this on the Realtor presentation. We have a Realtor-only presentation. We only talk about the solar division, the Encore division, solar, security, water. Some of the things that people think is, oh, if I get a solar system, there's going to put a lien on my property. That's not the case anymore. There's no lien on the property. I cannot refinance my home or sell my home unless I pay off the system. That is also false. It will affect my DTI. If you're going with a PPA or a lease, it will not affect your DTI. For those of you guys that may not know what that means, it's your debt to income ratio. I don't want to solar myself. This is, again, this is in the presentation for realtors, they don't have to sell solar. We help them sell solar. But some of these bullet points are extremely important that you know. Some homeowners that you know may not be going solar because they heard of somebody years ago, 5, 10 years ago, that went solar and they wanted to refinance their house, and the solar finance company told them, you can't refinance your house unless you pay off the solar system. Well, that's not good. So they have a bad taste in their mouth. Sometimes when we're prospecting people, maybe we have a homeowner and we know that solar is going to benefit them, but they are not giving us a lot of information. Maybe it's because they think this and they don't want to tell you. So you as a salesperson need to dig. Hey, let me ask you something, Calvin. What is it that's holding you back? Do you have some misconceptions about solar, or is it something you don't understand? I'm just curious so I can better do my job. See, if I have a conversation with Calvin like that, and he says to me, you know what? My friend James had a house with solar. He wanted to refinance and they told him he couldn't do it. He had to pay off the system in order to do it. And he paid it off and blah, blah, blah. Right? So you're finding now if you let them know that, listen, that I understand that's actually an old system, that's old financing, that doesn't exist. Right? So 80% of your customers are going to go solar with or without you in the next 10 to 15 years. This is what I tell realtors all the time. Let's keep going. So here's an example of what we could do for a customer, right? These are the only 2 slides that are meant for realtors. Then we're going to get into so much other things. But an example, $250 a month average payment. That means that they're paying $3,000 per year. What if I'm able to bring that payment down to $125? That's $1,500 per year. I'm saving them $1,500 per year. There's zero out of pocket. There's no down payment. You've got a fixed monthly payment. There's a 30% tax credit for those people that purchase a solar system. There's also 0 debt options. What am I referring to there? The leases and the PPAs. However, if you are new, just know this. You don't have to know all this information. You got to focus on 3 things. Get the interest, get the bill, get the appointment. Those are the 3 things that you got to focus on. Interest, bill, appointment. You want to master that, okay? Then there's 25-year warranty. All the maintenance is covered. Any maintenance that you need. People ask, well, what about the maintenance and the cleaning and maintenance and whatnot? Here's what I tell people. Look, when the solar system, first of all, you got 25-year warranty on your panels. But here's the deal. This is key for you guys to learn. When the solar system is installed, there's no moving parts. The panels are in place. There's no moving parts. As a matter of fact, you could even walk on top of the panels and nothing will happen to them. Now, I'm not suggesting, man, what is up with this charger? I'm going to turn off my camera because this is bothering me. I don't know what in the world is up with my chargers today. I got 2 different chargers. Give me 1 second, guys. Man, worst case scenario, I'm going to get on here from my phone. So the 25-year warranty is when the panels are installed, there's no moving parts. You don't have to worry about it. It's a very easy thing and you don't have to worry about it. I'm not saying that, when I mentioned you could walk across them and nothing will happen. That doesn't mean that I'm suggesting that you walk on your panels. Okay. That's not what I'm suggesting. However, what I am suggesting is that there's no moving parts. There's no maintenance. What about the cleaning? The water, the rain that we get a couple times a year does the cleaning for us. When we live in California, I do let people know, listen, situations like the fires are the, 1 second. I'm getting on from my cell phone, just in case. Just in case we have an issue, I'm getting on from my cell phone. In case my computer shuts off, I'm going to be ready to go. And sorry about these delays, guys, but sometimes technology is a pain in the butt. Okay, good. We're good to go. Okay, so 25-year warranty. Let's keep going. We're going to fly through this information. And remember that 60 to 80% of the people that you know are going to go solar in the next 10 to 15 years, and they're going to do it with or without your recommendation. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you guys have people that are going to go solar not with you, but with somebody else. And some of those people are going to go solar. And guess why? Because you never talked to them enough, or you didn't act like the authority enough. You didn't treat the business enough. It's just how it's going to be. I'm telling you. So let's keep going. So let's talk about how solar works. Here's how we are powering our energy grid today. Okay. This is what we see. This is what we don't see. Okay. Our main source of energy right now comes from the dirty energy, right? Coal, oil, gas, etc. Almost 8,000 operational power plants in the US alone. Now, the average solar system reduces emissions of CO2 by an equivalent of over 5 tons per year. Okay. That's over 100,000, 10,000 pounds per year. Okay. That is over 250,000 pounds in a 25-year savings report and what it represents. And that's a 7 Series BMW, weighs approximately 4,500 pounds. So here's in a visual. Let me give you a visual what that looks like. Okay. So the average solar system reduces CO2 to the equivalent of this many BMWs over the next 25 years. Okay. The average solar system, I think the average solar system is somewhere between 6 and 8 kilowatts, right? So we're certainly doing something. I truly believe that we are doing something better for the environment. Okay. And I think it's important that we get a visual of this, of what we're doing. We're not only saving customers money, we're not only helping their property go up, but we're also helping the environment as well. Okay. So now imagine this. It's 1999 and you are offered a gas card that will lock in your gas prices for life at 1999's prices. Here in California, 1999, gas prices were $1.17. Okay. Gas prices in 2022, during the pandemic, they hit $7 a gallon here in California. Right now, they're about $5, $5. Right? Now, here's the deal. That would mean that $105 to fill up the tank would go down to $17 every fill. Comparing 1999's prices to today's prices. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. Here's the deal. You cannot do that with gas, but you can do that with your electric bill. This is based on 15 gallons in California. 1999 for the same 15 gallons would have cost you $17.55 versus $105 in 2022. How many of you guys think that would be a good savings? Imagine somebody offered you a gas card back then. Here's the deal. Hindsight is 2020. Right? But imagine knowing what you know now, if somebody would have offered you a gas card that will lock in 1999's prices at $1.17 or whatever they were in your area then, how many guys would have bought that card knowing what you know now? I want to see it in the chat. Knowing what you know now, how many guys would have bought that card? Calvin says, yes, absolutely. So do I. So again, we can't do that with electricity. But guess what? We can't do that with gas prices, but we could certainly do it with electricity. So imagine doing this with your electric bill. We're going to take Gloria as an example. Gloria has a $200 electric bill and she decides to go solar. She takes her bill down to $139. So she's saving, what, $61 per month with zero money out of pocket, no down payment. That means that she's saving 61 times 12 equals $732 every year. That's what she's saving. Or is it more? No. See, $732 is what she saved year one because she had a $200 average bill. But can we agree, ladies and gentlemen, that the utility company is going to go up? Your rates are going to go up every year. Inflation goes up. There's a lot of reasons why electricity goes up. I'm going to give you, this is very important that you guys understand what I'm going to tell you next. You want to get good at explaining solar, selling solar, peaking interest for solar. This is something that you want to learn. Part of the reason why your utility bill continues to go up is for a couple of reasons. Number one is this. Last year, about every 35 seconds, somebody went solar last year. The year before that, every 39 seconds. The year before that, every minute. My point is this. Every day, there's tons of customers that switch from the utility company to solar. That means that the utility company loses a customer like every 39 seconds, every 35 seconds. They're losing a customer. but their grid is 130 years old. So it has a lot of maintenance and repairs that cost money. They have to charge that money to their existing clientele, but every day they have less clientele than the day before. Is this making sense why your utility bill is going up so much? Yes. So in this example, Gloria went from a $200 utility bill from her gas electric company. We brought it down to $139. So in essence, we saved her $61, $732 for the year. But it's actually more as the years go by. Check this out. Electricity prices across America are going up at a minimum, ladies and gentlemen, at a minimum of 4 to 6%. If you're in California, 10 to 20%. FYI, if you live in California, your utility bills are going up, your electric bill is going up 10 to 20%. Okay, here we go. That means that if you had a $200 payment in 2020, Wisconsin, 19%. That's crazy, Ignacio. If you had a $200 payment in 2020, okay, that means that in 2021, you're at roughly 210. That's 5%. Same electricity, a year later, you're at 210. In 2022, you were at 220 and 50 cents. In 2025 today, if your average payment was $200 in 2020, today your average payment is about $255 for the same electricity. 5 years later, $325. If your average payment today, average payment, that means some months is a little bit lower, some months is a little bit higher, but your average payment is $255 today, let's say, by 2030, assuming your utility company only goes up 4 to 6% every year, by 2030, you're going to be paying $325. And then 415, 530, and by 2045, 711. You went from $200 to 711 in 25 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's almost quadruple. And that is a conservative 5%. This is, by the way, if you're wondering, this is 5% a year. This is extremely conservative. We're not talking about Wisconsin numbers, 19%. We're not talking about California numbers, 10, 15, 20%. New York numbers are about that high. So we're talking about conservative numbers, okay? Now, what if in 2020 you started at 245? Instead of 200, you start at 245. Well, here's what the numbers look like. By 2045, you're at 870. Ladies and gentlemen, when you understand this visual and you understand what's going on here, you should have more of a sense of urgency to talk to people because, mind you, by the year 2045, it will be the opposite. You know how right now you go and most homes don't have solar? By 2045, most homes will have solar. Every 1% market, we're at about a 5% market penetration in America. Did you know that every 1% market penetration in America, that equals roughly $5 billion in commissions paid to this industry? $5 billion for every 1% increase. There are people in our company making a lot of money. There are people in this industry making a lot of money. This is one of the things that separates us about in our industry, ladies and gentlemen, in the network marketing industry, is that you have the opportunity to become a professional in a high-paid career, right? In a high-paid career, you have the opportunity to become a professional and get paid. Hey, so for example, I know my friend Michael Johnson is going to be at the office right now, at 11 a.m. A lot of you locals are going to be at the office. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Why? Because you guys are professionals. Because you treat this business seriously. And don't get me wrong, some of you guys can make it, that's okay. So, conservative savings over time. This is what it looks like. If you were paying $200 per month in 2020, at a 5% annual increase, year one, you saved $732. Year two, you saved $852. Look at that. But by 2030, you saved $2,200 for the year. By 2040, you save $4,600. And by 2045, you save $6,800 for the year. And by year, guess what? By year 2046, you saved a lot more because guess what? You don't have a monthly payment anymore. So In this example, ladies and gentlemen, what are we referring to? Total money wasted on the utility company is $80,000 per month. And this is only based on a 5% annual increase. Okay, let's keep going. So here's how the solar system works. Your solar panels generate electricity from the sun. Even on gloomy days, there's still sun rays that hit your panels. It's albeit less energy, but you're still producing electricity throughout the sun. Okay. Now, your solar system, your solar panels, they generate the electricity and send it to your inverter. The inverter, box number 2, is what turns your electricity into usable electricity. If you want the actual term, the term is DC to AC. It turns the electricity from DC to AC. Now what happens is that it is now usable electricity that your home uses. Now, whatever your home does not use, ladies and gentlemen, whatever your home does not use, that electricity has to get stored somewhere. So let's say you produce 10 kilowatt hours today, and you only use like during the day, right? While the sun is out, you produce, for simple numbers, 10 kilowatt hours, but you only use 5. The other 5 has to store somewhere. If you don't have a battery, that other 5 kilowatt hours has to go to the grid. Now, if you have a battery, they'll get stored on the battery. In California, let's say Edison. Edison is one of the most popular utility companies here in California. If I produce 20 kilowatt hours today and I only use 10, that means I've got 10 left over, right? I produced 20, I used 10. That means that I've got 10 left over. Let's say I don't have a battery. Those 10 kilowatt hours go to the grid. The grid is going to keep roughly 75% of that electricity that my panels produced. So I deposited 10 kilowatt hours into the battery. I produced 20. I used 10. Therefore, there's 10 left. I deposited those 10 that are left into the utility company. When I need them again in the evening, they're going to say, here's 2.5. And I'm going to say, wait a minute. I deposited 10. And they're going to say, yes, but we have a 75%, roughly 75% fee. So therefore, here's your 2.5, but you need 10. We'll sell you the other 7.5. Does that sound like a good deal, guys? No, it's not. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, batteries are required here in California, right? Because instead of sending it to the grid, I store it on my battery. Okay, that's how the solar system works. That's why it's now some utility companies have a 1-for-1. You deposit 10, they give you 10. You deposit 10, you need 10 in the evening, they give those 10 to you. Or you don't need them this evening, you need them tomorrow, you get it, they'll give it to you 1-for-1. So this is where you start to learn about your utility companies, right? If you specialize in solar in an area, that means that you're familiar with the utility companies in that area. So all utility companies are different. I specialize here in California. It's, the net metering in California is not that good. That's why batteries are needed. But it was a blessing in disguise. Because now that we know that this is a case, we are now selling solar systems that are complete solar systems versus systems that are not complete. So let's keep going. So how you get charged. When we look at a utility bill, this is why it's so important to get the utility bill. The most important part of the utility bill is the bar graph, because a bar graph is going to show you how much electricity the person is using throughout the month and throughout the year. Some utility companies only have 1 month, some have 6 months, some have 12 months. In my experience, most utility companies have 12 months. And some of them are easier to read than others. That's why you want to work with a mentor that knows the market and they know how to read it. And they show you. You should learn how to read these utility bills. Okay? So here's the way it works. The things that we look for is the total amount of kilowatt hours you are using. Kilowatt hours, let's call it units of electricity. We want to know how many units of electricity you are using, Mr. Customer, and we could tell by the bar graph. And then we also want to calculate what you are paying for that unit of electricity. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, you used 1,000. I want you guys to work with me here. 1,000 kilowatt hours. So if you notice on this bill here, do you guys see up here on the top where, let me see if I've got, if I can mark on here something. Oh, I probably can't. That's fine. So on the utility bill, right? Let's go back here. On the utility bill, on top of the bar graph, it says this year, 25.76. It shows here that this is your daily average electricity usage. This is with Edison. That particular month, they use an average of 25.76 kilowatt hours. 25.76. So if I take 25.76 and I multiply that by 30 days, let's see here. And you guys should be doing this, by the way, especially those of you new people, you should be doing this. 25.76 times 30 days. And that's why I was prepared with my phone. So I'm glad that happened. All right. I don't know what is up with my, and give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me okay. I'm going to share my screen now. Let's see here. Can you guys see my screen okay? Somebody unmute yourself and let me know that you can see my screen okay.
We see it.
Yes, sir.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the math here, but I'm gonna give you guys a simple example. Let's say somebody's using 1,000 kilowatt hours for the year, and they're paying $300 per month. That particular month, they paid $300 for electricity. That would mean that they are, if you divide those numbers, that means that they're paying 30 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, so in the utility bill, we want to see how many kilowatt hours are you using for the year. Let's say the utility bill shows me they're using 10,000 kilowatt hours for the year. Okay, and they're paying an average of, let's say, 30 cents a kilowatt hour. That means that they're paying $3,000 per year for electricity. If I divide that by 12, that equals a $250 average payment. Okay, so these are the most important things that we're looking at. This is the most important things I look for in a bill. I want to see how many kilowatt hours you are using and what you are paying per kilowatt hour. Because when we show them the solar system, guess what? We can show them the solar system and we can show them, with us, you're paying 25 cents a kilowatt hour or 22 cents or 23 cents. Sometimes I got a client that I show them, you see, Mr. Customer, you're paying 39 cents, right? Customer says, yes. Great. Now let's see. You're paying 39 cents to your utility company for every kilowatt hour. Now the question is, how much are you going to pay per kilowatt hour when you switch to solar? Okay, he says to me, yes. You're paying 39 cents. Your average payment is $300 a month. Then when I show him the solar savings report, I'm like, you're paying 24 cents a kilowatt hour instead of 39 cents. Your payment is $200 a month. So I'm saving you $100 a month. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Customer, you have a battery for blackout protection to go along with it, something that you didn't have before. And I'm giving you 15% more electricity than you were used to having. Now the sale becomes a lot easier because I educated the customer on how much electricity they're using, what they are paying for every unit of electricity. Then I show, even if he's paying 39 cents a kilowatt hour, and I come back at 41 cents per solar, but my system has 15% more electricity plus blackout protection, the customer can justify paying an extra 2 cents a kilowatt hour. Hey, I'm getting more electricity, plus I got blackout protection. Okay, let's keep going. So this is some examples of some of the bar graphs in utility companies. Oops, that's the problem with doing it on the phone. Connected display. Let's see here. All
That's
right.
better.
Is that better? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the problem. One second. I got like an extra little screen on here that I'm trying to remove. Oops.
Okay, do you see one screen right now, Juan?
We only see the main screen. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. So no problem, right? That's the screen you see.
no problem is the one we're seeing.
Perfect. So I'm going to give you guys a test now. So a part of this training, ladies and gentlemen, is to give you a test. I want you guys, we are going to go through, let's see here. Nope. How do I go back? This is so annoying. And I apologize. Usually I am ready and my damn computer is not working. And let's see here. And for some reason, the charger's not working. So guess what? I'm going to go and buy a new charger soon. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to use it like this. So here's the situation. What happens if you don't have a utility bill? If you don't have a utility bill, what do we do? So here's how it works. I'm going to give you an example, and how we calculate usage is this. We multiply. Sometimes you're going to come across a client that does not have a utility bill. And when I was new, this would stop me very often. Oh, I don't have a utility bill. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, then we should wait a couple of months. Or the homeowner will suggest to you, hey, I should wait a couple of months because I don't have a utility bill. Now, in fairness, that is a valid point. The fact that they want to wait to see. However, this is a pro tip I'm going to give you, ladies and gentlemen. If you make it a big deal and you are not confident, they will make it a big deal. If you come across like it's a big deal that they don't have a utility bill, right? They will not trust in you to give you the business. So let's say I'm a homeowner and I say, well, you know what? I moved in 2 months ago, Johnny. So I've only got 2 months of usage. Wouldn't it be better for me to wait a couple of months so I could see a more clear average of what I'm spending? Now, if you say, let's say you're the sales rep, you're the Encore build rep, you say, oh yeah, yeah, that's a good point, you know? Now, on the contrary, somebody says that to me, I say, yeah, I understand how you feel. Here's the thing, we specialize in helping people figure out how much electricity they're going to use. We have a very sophisticated system. I just need some information from you, and I can figure out how much electricity that you're going to use as long as you give me the information that I need accurately. Oh, okay. See, I am the professional. They are not. I don't make it a big deal. I make it seem like, Juan, by the way, let me know if you can hear me okay. I had a call coming. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay.
We hear you. We hear
Okay,
you.
perfect. So now I know, I'm letting them know that I'm the expert, that it's not a big deal. I'm not making it a big deal, so therefore they don't make it a big deal. I use this example all the time. My wife and I, we have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, right? If my 3-year-old falls and scrapes his knee and I rush to him to see if he's okay, he's going to start crying. If I kind of ignore it a little bit, pretend like I didn't see it, he gets up, kind of dusts himself off, and then is on his way. We as adults, to a certain degree, are like that a little bit. If you make it a big deal, they will. So here's how you do it. How do you calculate usage? You calculate usage, ladies and gentlemen, by multiplying the square footage by either 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, or 6. When I was taught this, I was just told you multiply by 4, 5, or 6, which is true as well. However, there are times where you could justify the 0.5, where it's not quite a 5, but it's not quite a 6. I'm going to put 5.5, and that's perfectly fine. So here's how it looks. I'm going to give you an example. Somebody who recently moved in. Okay, it's a new build ADU. Oh, okay, these are the reasons why. Maybe somebody recently moved in, so they don't have the utility bill, or enough months of the utility bill, or it's a new build. They just built the home, or maybe it's an ADU. An ADU is where they build in addition to the home in the back, or a second home in the back. Those are very popular here in California. Or maybe they want to add additional square footage. Hey, I'm adding another. I'm making a new master bedroom, so therefore I'm going to need more electricity. Well, it's okay. I take their current electricity bill and I just take the square footage of the new build in the back. So I'm going to break that down in detail. So here's how you do it. You take the square footage, you multiply by 4, 5, or 6. Okay. Now, here are the questions. How many people are going to live in the home? I write this down. 5 people live in the home. Great. Are there any stay-at-home parents or stay-at-home kids? Yes, my wife is at home. My wife, and then she homeschools the kids. How many kids? 2 kids. Great. 2. Obviously, if people live at home, right? If people live at home versus mom and dad going to work, kids are at school, there's not as much electricity being used at home. But if a mother is at home and she's homeschooling the kids, you better believe that the lights are on. The AC is probably on. Maybe some TVs are on, computers are on, etc. Right? So that makes a difference. So I asked the question, how many people live in the house? Do you have central AC? What about pool, jacuzzi? Okay. Any stay-at-home parents or kids? We talked about that. And then let me ask you this, Mr. Customer. Would you consider yourself to be a family that is conservative with your electricity, right? You really protect how much electricity you use, or somebody uses about average, or somebody that is above average, or even borderline aggressive with electricity, like you use a lot of electricity? That question, by the way, brings up people to say things like, oh yeah, forget about it. We use a lot of electricity. Another thing I like to ask is there anything else that I'm missing? Maybe you have an additional fridge, like we have an additional freezer in our home. We have 2 freezers, right? We have one that's just a freezer for meats, right? And then we have the regular fridge. That makes a big deal. Okay, so let's keep going. These are the questions that I want to know. Based on these questions, I know whether to multiply by 4, 5, or 6. So let's keep going. So here's a quiz. By the way, let me go back. 4, 5, or 6. 4 is very minimal. I'm going to give an example of what 4 is. 4 is a family that uses very little electricity. Maybe a husband and wife, no kids. They both work. They come home. They have dinner, watch a little bit of TV, go to sleep, repeat that Monday through Friday. Minimal. Maybe a single guy with no family, that's a 4. I don't use a lot of electricity. I don't entertain a lot of people. A 5 is more of an average family. Maybe wife and kids, right? Husband and wife go to school. Kids go to school. They're home around 3, right? They got some activities, but they're not using a whole lot of electricity, right? And certainly if they don't have central AC, it's hard to get them above a 5. I could justify a 5.5 if we're home after 3, 4, 5 o'clock. And then the kids are watching TV, they're on Netflix, playing video games. We turn on the AC, when it's hot, I could justify a 5.5 sometimes there, right? But 5 is about average. 6 is when it's, hey, listen, yeah, we may go to school and work, but when we're back, every light is on, TV is on, kids are playing video games. We also have a pool in the back. We have a jacuzzi. We use a lot of electricity. That's a 6. So somewhere in between there, right? Like, I'm going to give you an example of what a 5 is. One more time. A 5. Family, husband, wife, kids at home after 5. They use a little bit of electricity. They have AC, but they're not using it, overwhelmingly. They use it occasionally. And, it's about average. Also, the way that the homeowner answers, are you guys a family that uses a lot of electricity? Or are you more conservative? Or are you about average? No, we're about average. I would put that at a 5. Square footage multiplied by 5. By the way, we can find the square footage by simply Googling their address. I put the address 123 Main Street, Springfield, whatever. And then Zillow or Redfin pops up, and I click on that Zillow link, and their square footage is going to be there. They're not going to know their square footage. Don't ask them for their square footage. I don't mind asking people sometimes. You wouldn't happen to know what the square footage is, right? They may or may not know. Either way, it doesn't matter, because I could figure that out on my own. I hope you guys are following me here. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a quiz. So here's the quiz. This is where you take out your notepad and pen, and I'm going to give you guys 2 quizzes, and we're going to move on, and we're going to complete this training next week. 1,700 square foot home, husband and wife and a baby. The husband works. The wife is at home. She's a, stay-home mother. They do have central AC. They use a conservative amount of electricity, and there's no EV or big appliances for electricity. That's example number one. Example number two, 2,000 square foot house. So you're gonna you're gonna write down the answer, and I want you guys to put the number in the chat of how many kilowatt hours they use. Remember, you get the square footage and you're gonna multiply it by either 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, or 6. By the way, there are occasions where I multiply it by 6.5 if it's like a crazy amount of electricity, FYI. So example number two, 2,000 square foot home, husband and wife, 3 kids. Kids are homeschooled kids. They have central AC, they have a pool, aggressive usage of electricity, but they have no EV. So at this point, what I want you to do is I want you to put in the chat, example number one and example number two. So I got Michael says, for example number one, 8,500, and example number two, 12,000. Thank you for that, Michael. Let's see. 8,500, 1,200. All right, good. Let's see. Example two, okay, I see what you're doing, Calvin. Okay. By the way, can you guys still see my screen? Let me know in the chat if you guys can still see my screen.
No,
All
you're
right,
not
ne-
sharing.
No,
Okay, no problem.
Mhm.
Now, moment of truth. Let's go and see. Let's go and see what the answers are. Thank you for sharing. Okay. That's the quiz. There it is. 8,500. So example number one, the answer is if you got anywhere from 8,500 to 9,350, that was a correct answer. A multiplication of 5 or 5.5. Example number two is a solid multiplication of 6. 12,000 kilowatt hours. How many of you guys got that right? Feel free to unmute yourself if you got that right. Or put it in the chat. Okay, now let's talk about EV usage. This is the last one that we're going to do, and we're going to wrap this up, and we'll complete this training next week. By the way, this training, in case you guys don't know, is already in your back office, by the way. So the original training we did on this is already in the back office, and we're probably going to do another one of these trainings live at the corporate office in February, FYI. Okay, so here we go. Calculating usage based on miles driven. Okay, for every 10,000 miles driven per year, that needs 3,000 kilowatt hours per year. So the question is, how do I calculate usage if a client of mine is going to get an EV? This is something you should know. It's easy. It sounds complicated, but it's not. And it makes sense that the homeowner is going to think, well, I know what I'm using now. I got my bill. I've been here for a couple of years, but I'm going to get an EV. So shouldn't I wait until I get the EV to figure out how much more electricity I'm going to use? No, remember, you are the professional, not them. You got to be confident. You got to act as if. You got to be, as a matter of fact, type of attitude. So what do I mean? That means that you got to take the initiative and let them know. If somebody says that to me, I say, hey, Michael, don't worry about it. We have a formula. We know exactly how much electricity that you're going to need based on how many miles you drive. We all know approximately how many miles we drive a year, how many miles we're going to drive. So all I need to know is how many miles a year you're going to drive, either how many miles a year or how many miles a month. Based on the miles that you drive, we know how much more electricity to add to your system, how many more kilowatt hours to give you. Sometimes they may not know how many miles per year, but they calculate how many miles per month. I've literally had people say, well, to and from work, I drive 30 miles, right? So that's 5 days a week. And then, I drive a little bit on the weekend. I'll help them. I'm the sales guy. I got to guide them to the promised land, right? Okay, so you drive about 150 miles a week to and from work. Yes. Then on the weekends, you're going to drive that car as well. Yeah. What would you say Saturday and Sunday you drive? Do you drive a lot on the weekends? No, not really. We hang out. You want me to just put like an extra 20 for the weekend? Yes. Okay, great. 170 miles per week is what I'm going to put for you. Great. Guess what? I multiply that by 52 weeks and I got the answer. But your job as a salesperson, as a strong salesperson, ladies and gentlemen, is to take the initiative, guide them, walk them through. Your job as a sales professional is to be a problem solver. When other people drown in small problems, in a cup of water worth of problems, you are swimming in the ocean, right? So anyways, let's get back to this. Here's how you calculate usage. For every 10,000 miles they drive, that equals 3,000 kilowatt hours. Now, this confuses people because what if they drive 4,000? And, not everybody's as fast as math as others. So here's a simple formula. Every 1,000 miles they drive equals 300 kilowatt hours. So if I have Johnny and I have a solar system of 10,000 kilowatt hours for him, 10,000, right? And I say, he says to me, but my wife, she really wants a Tesla. So that's why we've been considering waiting. And I already explained to him how he doesn't have to wait. How many miles is your wife going to drive? 10,000 miles a year. Great. I know I got to add 3,000. So I'm going to give you guys a quiz on this. So remember, 300 kilowatt hours for every 1,000. Okay, so take out your calculator if you have to. Let's keep going. So here's a quiz. 7,000 miles per year. How many more kilowatt hours do you need to add? The next example is 12,000 miles per year. How many more miles you need to add? How many more kilowatt hours? And 20,000 miles per year that they drive. How many more kilowatt hours do you need to add? I want you guys to put it in the chat. Let's put that in the chat. Let's look at the chat. We're going to example number 1, 2,100. Okay. $2,100. Okay. Let's see what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see who got it right. Keep putting them in the chat. Keep putting them in the chat. That's the answer. 2,100, 3,600, and 6,000. See, it's easy. Every 1,000, if somebody says I'm driving 3,000 miles a year, which is not at all a lot at all. Okay, great. What's 3,000 times 300? 900. Great. There you go. 20,000. Great. Right. 20,000 miles times 300. That's 6,000. It's easy numbers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So when somebody shows me a utility bill and they're using 10,000 kilowatt hours a year, right? And they say, I've had my car for a couple of months. How many months have you had your car? 2 months. If they've only had the electric vehicle for 2 months, we know that that bill is not reflecting the full 12 years. So what I would do in that scenario, one way to do it, and to close this off, I would only include the first 10 months. I'm not going to include the whole 12 months because the last 2 months are with the electric vehicle, right? So I don't want to confuse you guys too much. So I'm going to try to keep it simple. So I will go based on 10 months only. And then I would just do the math based on how many miles they drive. So let's say the first 10 months, they average 1,000 kilowatt hours a month. That's 12,000 a year. And then they're driving 10,000 miles. That means that I add another 3,000. So I'm going to give them a solar system for 15,000 kilowatt hours for the year. So I'm going to start off on this slide next week. And I'll make sure that my computer is all good to go from the beginning, so we don't have the issues that we had today. But I hope you guys got some value from today's training, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's go ahead and let's keep going and let's get these utility bills. Let's get these appointments. Remember, don't complicate things. Here's the keys to selling solar. Number 1, get the interest. Number 2, get the utility bill. Number 3, get the appointment. Get the interest, get the bill, get the appointment. That's what you've got to focus on. If you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna be just fine. So I hope everybody got some value from today. The sales meeting is gonna be live streamed via the same link. So Juan, I think we keep this on, right?
Yes, we'll keep this on. We'll start recording and then we'll kick off recording once you're ready, sir.
Okay, sounds good. I'll see you guys in a bit.
All right.
Those of
thank
you locals, I'll see you guys in the office. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.